Contract of Hearts. Part 1. The lawyer's knock came exactly 24 hours after they lowered her father into the ground. Sophia stood frozen in the doorway of her Brooklyn apartment, still wearing the black dress from the funeral. Mascara stains dried on her cheeks. The man before her wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His business card read, Dr. Hassan Al-Farsi, International Legal Counsel. Miss Carter, I represent the Al-Rashid family of Dubai. His accent was crisp, educated. May I come in? She didn't want to let him in, didn't want to hear whatever news had traveled across continents to find her on the worst day of her life. But she stepped aside anyway, because people who wore suits like that didn't take no for an answer. He placed a leather folder on her cluttered coffee table, between half-empty takeout containers and unopened sympathy cards. Inside lay a contract, yellowed at the edges, written in both English and Arabic. Her father's signature at the bottom made her stomach drop. $1,200,000, Dr. Hassan said flatly. Your father borrowed this amount from the Al-Rashid family 15 years ago. The debt comes due upon his death. The room tilted. Sophia gripped the armrest of her thrift store couch. That's impossible. My father was a translator. He was also an investor who made unfortunate choices. Dr. Hassan opened another document. Your apartment is currently 3 months behind on mortgage payments. Your mother's medical bills from the psychiatric facility total $67,000. You have $4,000 in your checking account. Each word landed like a punch. How did he know all this? I can't pay that, she whispered. No, he agreed. You cannot. But there is an alternative. He pulled out a photograph. A man in his 30s, handsome in that effortless way wealthy people often were. Dark hair, strong jaw, kind eyes. He was laughing in the picture, standing beside a helicopter. Adam Al-Rashid, 28 years old, heir to the Al-Rashid Empire. 6 months ago, his helicopter crashed in the desert. Part 2. Dr. Hassan let the silence stretch, watching her reaction with those unreadable dark eyes. He's alive, he continued, but he's been in a coma ever since. The doctors say his brain activity is minimal. His family believes he can still hear, still sense the world around him. They've tried everything. Experimental treatments, specialists from Zurich, shamans from Morocco. Nothing works. Sophia stared at the photograph. The man's smile seemed to reach through the paper, warm and genuine. It made what came next even more impossible to process. The Al-Rashid family proposes the following. You will marry Adam. The ceremony will be conducted at his bedside in Dubai. In exchange, your father's debt will be forgiven entirely. You will receive a monthly stipend of $10,000. Your mother's medical care will be transferred to a private facility, fully covered. Her laugh came out broken, almost hysterical. You want me to marry a man in a coma? I want nothing, Miss Carter. The family wants this. The matriarch, Amina Al-Rashid, believes that a wife's presence might reach her son in ways medicine cannot. She's read studies about coma patients responding to loved ones, to familiar voices, to human connection. I'm not a loved one. I'm a stranger. You are a translator fluent in Arabic and English. You are a woman of appropriate age. You are also, forgive my bluntness, in desperate need of financial salvation. He pushed the papers closer. The marriage would be civil, legal, binding. You would live in the palace, spend time with Adam daily, read to him, speak to him, follow the protocols established by his medical team. Sophia wanted to throw him out, wanted to scream that this was medieval, absurd, cruel. But her phone buzzed on the table. Another text from the bank, another notice about foreclosure, another reminder that her mother's psychiatrist was threatening discharge if the bills remained unpaid. How long? Her voice sounded hollow. The contract is open-ended. If Adam wakes, the terms will be renegotiated. If he doesn't, Dr. Hassan's expression softened slightly. The family is generous to those who serve them loyally. And if I refuse, then I will be back tomorrow with foreclosure papers and a lawsuit for the full amount plus interest. Part 3. Sophia signed at 3 in the morning, her hand shaking so badly the signature barely looked like hers. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and packing. Dr. Hassan arranged everything with terrifying efficiency. Visa, flights, medical documentation, even a small suitcase of appropriate attire. delivered to her door by a silent courier. She told her mother's doctor the truth, or part of it. She was getting married, moving to Dubai for work. Everything would be fine. Her mother, sedated and distant behind those medicated eyes, only nodded and said, "That's nice, sweetheart." Sophia wanted to scream. Instead, she kissed her mother's forehead and left. The flight to Dubai felt like being swallowed. First class, champagne she didn't drink, a private car waiting at the airport. The city rose from the desert like something from a science fiction film. Impossible towers of glass and steel, luxury and excess radiating from every corner. The Al Rashid Palace wasn't downtown among the skyscrapers. It sprawled on the outskirts, a massive compound of white stone and geometric gardens, surrounded by walls that kept the world out and secrets in. Amina al-Rashid met her in the main hall. The matriarch was in her 60s, elegant and cold as marble, wearing a silk abaya with subtle gold embroidery. Her gaze moved over Sophia like a customs inspection. "You are younger than I expected," Amina said in perfect English. And plain. Sophia had no response to that. She stood there in her discount jeans and wrinkled blouse, feeling like an insect under glass. "My son deserves beauty, deserves a woman of breeding and culture." Amina's voice was ice. "But Allah works in mysterious ways. Perhaps your ordinariness will reach him where elegance could not." A younger man appeared behind Amina. Mid-20s, handsome like Adam, but sharper, hungrier. "Mother, don't torture the poor girl before the ceremony." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm Rashid, the younger, less comatose brother." The insult hung in the air like smoke. "The ceremony is in 1 hour," Amina said. "You will shower, change into the dress provided, and meet us at the private medical wing. Do not be late. Do not embarrass this family more than your presence already does." Part 4. The hospital room was nothing like Sophia had imagined. It looked more like a luxury hotel suite. Cream walls, soft lighting, expensive artwork, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the desert at sunset. In the center, surrounded by silent machines and monitors, lay Adam al-Rashid. He looked smaller than in the photograph, thinner. The helicopter crash had left a scar along his temple, mostly hidden by his dark hair, but visible up close. His chest rose and fell with mechanical regularity. His hands lay still at his sides. Sophia's wedding dress was champagne silk, beautiful and utterly wrong for the occasion. She felt like a ghost. The ceremony lasted 9 minutes. An imam recited prayers. A doctor served as legal witness. Dr. Hassan presented documents on a tablet for digital signatures. Amina watched from the corner, her expression unreadable. Rashid wasn't even there. "Do you, Sophia Marie Carter, take Adam Karim al-Rashid as your lawfully wedded husband?" She looked at the unconscious man. His face was peaceful, almost boyish in sleep. She wondered what his voice sounded like, if he would have wanted this. If somewhere in that silent mind he was screaming. "I do," she whispered. The imam placed her hand on Adam's. His skin was warm. That surprised her. Somehow she'd expected coldness. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." No kiss, no applause. Just the quiet beep of heart monitors and the scratch of stylus on tablet as contracts became binding. Afterward, Dr. Hassan handed her a folder thick with instructions. Daily schedule, medical protocols, dietary information, emergency contacts, rules about privacy and media and family interactions. "You will spend a minimum of 4 hours daily with Adam," he explained. "Read to him, speak to him, play music he enjoyed, touch his hands, his face. The doctors believe sensory input may stimulate brain activity. And if nothing happens, then you continue anyway, Miss Carter. That is the contract." He left her alone with her new husband. Sophia stood beside the bed for a long time, not knowing what to do. Finally, she pulled a chair close and sat down. "Hi," she said to the silent man. "I'm Sophia. I guess I'm your wife now. This is really weird." Part 5. The first 2 weeks were a special kind of hell. Sophia lived in a guest suite 3 corridors away from Adam's room. Marble floors, gold fixtures, a bed bigger than her entire Brooklyn apartment. It felt like living inside a museum, beautiful, cold, untouchable. Every morning at 9, a nurse named Layla escorted her to Adam's room. Layla was kind, at least. Egyptian, soft-spoken, with gentle hands and sad eyes. She taught Sophia how to moisturize Adam's hands, how to move his limbs through passive range of motion exercises, how to recognize changes in his monitors. Talk to him about anything, Layla said. His favorite books were architectural theory and poetry. He studied at Cambridge, loved jazz music and Italian food, hated formal events and family politics. Sophia tried. She read aloud from the books on his shelf, dense academic texts about sustainable design, volumes of Rumi and Hafez in both Arabic and English. Her voice felt intrusive in the quiet room, but she kept going because the contract demanded it. Sometimes Amina would appear in the doorway, watching, judging. She never spoke to Sophia directly during these visits, just observed like a scientist checking an experiment's progress. Rashid was worse. He'd lean against the doorframe with that sharp smile and say things like, "Still talking to yourself, I see," or "Any luck waking Sleeping Beauty?" His mockery felt personal, targeted. Sophia learned to ignore him, but at night, lying in that enormous bed, she cried. Cried for her father, for her mother, for herself, for the absurdity of being married to a stranger she spoke to every day but would never know. On the 15th day, something changed. She was reading Rumi, struggling through the Arabic pronunciation, when her phone buzzed. She glanced down, forgetting herself, and her hand brushed Adam's wrist. The heart monitor's rhythm stuttered. Just for a second. A small spike, then back to normal. Sophia froze, stared at the screen, then at Adam's face. Had she imagined it? She touched his hand again, deliberately this time. Wrapped her fingers around his. The monitor jumped again, subtle but real. "Adam?" Her voice cracked. "Can you hear me?" No response. His eyes remained closed, but something had shifted. Some small part of him had reacted. Part 6. Sophia didn't tell anyone about the monitor spike. She wasn't sure why. Maybe because Amina would dismiss it as wishful thinking. Maybe because Rashid would mock her. Maybe because she wanted this one small thing to be hers alone. But she changed her approach. She stopped reading like someone fulfilling a contract and started talking like someone trying to reach a friend. "Your brother is an asshole," she said one afternoon, adjusting the pillow behind Adam's head. "He makes these little comments, you know, like he's testing me, seeing how much I'll take before I snap." She paused. "I think he wants me to fail. Not sure why. Maybe he just hates the whole arrangement." Can't say I blame him. The heart monitor stayed steady, but she continued anyway. "Your mother terrifies me. She looks at me like I'm a stain on her expensive furniture, which fair enough, I kind of am. I'm sure she imagined you marrying some sophisticated heiress, not a broke translator from Brooklyn who couldn't even afford her father's funeral flowers." She traced the scar on his temple gently. "I'm sorry about the accident. I read the news reports. They said it was mechanical failure, but the investigation's still open. Must be horrible for your family, not knowing." Later that night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the monitor, about that brief spike of reaction. Around 2 in the morning, she gave up trying to rest and walked through the silent palace to Adam's room. She'd forgotten her phone on the bedside table. The door was closed, but not locked. As she reached for the handle, she heard voices inside. Low, urgent. She pressed her ear to the wood. "Can't wait another year." Rashid's voice tight with frustration. "The company needs leadership now, not some fantasy that he'll wake up." Another voice, unfamiliar, male. "The doctor knows what to do. Another month, maybe 2. Then we can present it as natural complications. And the wife? What about her? She's nobody. When it's done, we pay her off and she disappears." Sophia's blood turned to ice. They were talking about killing Adam, about making it look natural, about getting rid of her afterward. She stumbled backward, hand over her mouth to stop the gasp. Her hip hit a decorative table, sending a vase crashing to the floor. The voices inside stopped abruptly. Sophia ran. Part 7. She didn't stop until she reached her room, locked the door, shoved a chair under the handle. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Her hands shook so violently she could barely breathe. They were going to kill him. Rashid, the doctor, maybe others. They were going to murder Adam in his hospital bed and call it natural causes. And she was the only one who knew. Sophia paced the marble floor until dawn, trying to think. Who could she tell? Amina. The matriarch might be cold, but surely she wouldn't condone her son's murder. Then again, maybe she already knew. Maybe the whole family was in on it except Adam. Dr. Hassan? He was the family's lawyer. His loyalty wasn't to her. The police? And say what? That she'd overheard a conversation that could mean anything? That she, the nobody bride from America, suspected the heir's brother of conspiracy? They'd laugh her out of the station. By morning, she'd made a decision. If no one else would protect Adam, she would. But she had to be smart about it. She waited until the usual time, then went to his room as if nothing had happened. Layla was there, checking vitals. Rashid stood by the window, scrolling through his phone. "Good morning," Sophia said, keeping her voice steady. Rashid looked up. His eyes were calculating. "Late night? Couldn't sleep. New place, you know." He smiled, that sharp smile. "Heard a crash last night. East Wing corridor. You wouldn't know anything about that?" "Sorry, no. Maybe a cat?" "We don't have cats." He watched her for a long moment, then shrugged. Must have been the wind. After he left, Sophia moved to Adam's bedside. Layla was adjusting his IV, humming softly. "Layla," Sophia said quietly, "do you trust the doctors here?" The nurse's hands stilled. "That's an odd question." "I know, but do you?" Layla met her eyes. Something flickered there, understanding maybe, or warning. "I trust some more than others, Mrs. Al-Rashid." "Why?" "Just curious." Sophia managed to smile. "Could you give us a few minutes alone?" After Layla left, Sophia leaned close to Adam's ear. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I know someone's trying to hurt you. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, I need you to give me a sign. Any sign. Please." She placed her hand over his. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, so faintly she almost missed it, his fingers twitched. Not much. Just a tiny contraction, but deliberate. Part 8. Sophia's breath caught. She stared at their joined hands, then at his face. Still peaceful, still closed. "Do it again," she whispered. "If you can hear me, squeeze my hand." She waited. 10 seconds, 20. Then it happened. A definite squeeze. Weak but unmistakable. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Oh my God, you're in there." She wanted to scream, to call the doctors, to tell everyone. But something stopped her. That overheard conversation. The conspiracy. If Rashid and his accomplices knew Adam was conscious, they'd act faster. "Don't tell anyone." The thought crystallized. If Adam had been awake during that conversation, he'd heard it too. He was faking the coma to stay alive. "If you're pretending to be unconscious because you're in danger, squeeze twice," she said. 2 squeezes, immediate and strong. Sophia covered her mouth, emotions overwhelming. He'd been awake this whole time, listening to her ramble about her life, about her fears, about her loneliness. Trapped in his own body, unable to speak, surrounded by people trying to kill him. "I'm going to help you," she promised. "I don't know how yet, but I will. Just hold on." They developed a system. During the day, with others around, she read to him normally. But at night, when the palace slept and only skeleton medical staff remained, she'd return to his room. He couldn't talk, but he could squeeze her hand. Once for yes, twice for no, 3 times for danger. She learned the whole story in fragments. The helicopter hadn't been an accident. Rashid had paid someone to sabotage it. He wanted Adam dead so he could take control of the family empire. But Adam survived, barely. Then, in those first foggy hours of consciousness, he'd overheard the doctors discussing complications with Rashid. He understood they'd try again. So he stayed silent, stayed still, waiting for an opportunity. "Why didn't you wake up when your mother was here?" Sophia asked one night. 3 squeezes, danger. "You don't trust her either?" 1 squeeze, yes. Sophia's heart sank. The conspiracy went deeper than she'd thought. Over the next 2 weeks, they planned. Sophia started carrying her phone everywhere, recording conversations when she could. She befriended Layla, who revealed she'd noticed the primary doctor, Dr. Saleh, acting strangely, spending extra time alone with Adam. Part 9. "He gives additional injections," Layla confided. "Not part of the regular protocol." When I asked, he said they were experimental treatments approved by the family. But Mrs. Al-Rashid never mentioned any experimental treatments to me. Sophia gained access to Rashid's office by claiming she needed to use the printer. While he was at a business lunch, she cloned data from his laptop using a USB drive Adam had squeezed directions for. She found everything: emails with the helicopter mechanic, wire transfers to Dr. Saleh, plans to move Adam to a long-term facility where he'd die quietly within weeks. The timeline was accelerating. She had to act. But then, Amina called a family meeting. Sophia was summoned to the formal sitting room, where the matriarch sat like a judge at trial. "This arrangement has gone on long enough," Amina announced. 3 months, and no change in my son's condition. "Clearly, this experiment has failed." "But," Sophia started, "I will be filing for annulment within 72 hours. You will receive a financial settlement, $500,000. Generous, considering you've accomplished nothing. Dr. Hassan will arrange your flight back to New York." Rashid stood behind his mother, wearing that victorious smile. Sophia's mind raced. If she left, Adam would be completely vulnerable. Rashid would act immediately, probably within days of her departure. "I'd like to say goodbye to Adam," she said quietly. "Alone. One last time." Amina waved a dismissive hand. "Fine. You have 1 hour, then pack your belongings." Sophia practically ran to Adam's room. She locked the door, checked for cameras, then leaned close. "They're sending me away. We have to do this now. Are you strong enough?" One squeeze. "Yes." "Can you open your eyes?" "Move enough to prove you're conscious?" One squeeze. "This is going to be public. Messy. Are you ready?" One squeeze. Firm and sure. Sophia called Layla. "I need you to gather the family. Tell them it's an emergency. Tell them Adam's having a medical event." Within 10 minutes, they were all there. Amina, Rashid, Dr. Saleh, Dr. Hassan, and 2 nurses. They crowded into the room, concerned and confused. Sophia stood beside the bed, laptop open, connected to the wall-mounted television. "Before I leave," she said, voice steady despite her terror, "I think you should see something." She pressed play. The screen filled with audio files, transcripts, wire transfers, email headers, security footage of Dr. Saleh administering unauthorized injections. Part 10. Rashid's face went white. "What is this? Where did you—" "Your office computer," Sophia said calmly. "You should use better passwords." Dr. Saleh moved toward the door. 2 security guards blocked his way. Sophia had called them 30 minutes earlier, shown them just enough evidence to ensure their loyalty. "This is absurd," Rashid hissed. "She's fabricated this entire—" "I didn't fabricate anything." Sophia turned to Amina. "Your younger son tried to kill Adam. The helicopter crash wasn't an accident. Dr. Saleh has been administering sedatives to keep him comatose. They plan to move him to a long-term facility next month and let him die there." Amina's face was stone. "These are serious accusations. They're true." The voice was rough, unused for 6 months, but unmistakable. Everyone turned. Adam was sitting up. His eyes were open, dark and fierce. He looked directly at his brother. "You tried to kill me, Rashid, and you used our mother's grief to do it." The room exploded. Dr. Saleh tried to run and was tackled by security. Rashid shouted denials, then threats, then finally broke down into desperate confession. Yes, he'd sabotaged the helicopter. Yes, he'd paid Dr. Saleh. Yes, he wanted control of the company. He was tired of being second, tired of living in Adam's shadow. Amina said nothing. She simply stared at her younger son as if seeing him for the first time, and the look of betrayal and disgust on her face was more devastating than any words. The police came. Rashid was arrested. Dr. Saleh confessed everything in exchange for immunity. The scandal exploded across international news. Attempted murder, conspiracy, the devoted wife who'd saved the heir's life. But Sophia barely noticed the media circus. She was focused on Adam, now in physical therapy, relearning to walk, to use his hands properly. He was weak but determined, and every day he got stronger. 3 weeks after the revelation, he found her on the palace terrace at sunset. She'd been avoiding him, unsure of where they stood. Their marriage had been born of desperation, sustained by conspiracy. Now that the danger had passed, what were they to each other? "You've been hiding from me," Adam said. leaning on a cane but standing steady. You've been busy. Recovery, the company, legal proceedings. Sophia. He moved closer. Do you remember the contract clause about voluntary continuation? She nodded. She'd read it 100 times. If the wife chose to stay after the husband's recovery, the marriage became permanent and real in the eyes of the law. I need to tell you something, Adam said softly. I fell in love with your voice before I ever saw your face. With the way you read poetry badly, stumbling over Arabic pronunciations, with your terrible jokes and your honesty. You talked to me like a person, not a patient. You risked everything to save me when you could have just taken the money and run. Tears burned Sophia's eyes. You don't owe me anything. You don't have to. I'm not saying this out of obligation. He cupped her face gently. I'm saying it because it's true. These 6 months, even trapped in silence, were the most genuine connection I've ever experienced. You're brilliant and brave and real in a way no one in my world ever has been. I'm also broke and ordinary, and you're extraordinary. He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. So here's my proposal. No contract, no debt, no pressure. Just a choice. Stay with me. Let's see if this ridiculous arranged marriage could become something real. Sophia kissed him. Right there on the terrace, with the Dubai sunset painting the sky gold and pink, she kissed her husband. Her choice. Her future. 6 months later, they had a proper wedding. Hundreds of guests, both Arab and American traditions, vows they wrote themselves that made everyone laugh and cry. Adam's Social Housing Foundation finally launched, with Sophia running the educational program. They opened a school in Queens, in her old neighborhood. And one morning, standing in that very school, she told him she was pregnant. Adam cried. Sophia laughed. And the world learned that some love stories begin in darkness, but end in light. The end.